Welcome, Anime Stark family. Today, we embark on a captivating journey with part 1 of What If Deku Fell in Love with Fem Aizawa? Stay tuned for a fresh twist in the world of My Hero Academia. Don't forget to subscribe and hit the notification bell to catch all the action on our channel. Oops, I'm late for training, Izuku exclaimed, getting up from bed immediately. Well, at least he thought so. Izuku's perspective. Oh no, I'm late for training with All Might, I said as I rushed out of my room, only to trip and kiss the floor. Are you okay, Izuku? My worried mom asked as she saw me getting up. Yes, Mom, I'm fine, I replied as I got back on my feet. You forgot you were going to training, didn't you? She teased, knowing it was obvious. Yes, Mom, I have to go. I'm running late, I said as I hurried to the door. You're not going to have breakfast, Izuku, she shouted as I was about to leave. I don't have time, goodbye, Mom. I called as I headed out the door. My name is Izuku Midoriya, I'm 15 years old, and the reason I'm in such a hurry is that I'm late for my training with All Might. My training sessions start at 6 in the morning, and it's already 9:10 a.m. I woke up late at 8:54 a.m. All Might is going to be furious if he's still waiting for me. Why is this happening to me? I shouted in frustration. Normal narrator. 8:54 a.m. In a rather large apartment, there was a lump on a bed. But who is it? Well, this apartment belongs to the heroine and, at the same time, the teacher of UA, whose name is Fem Aizawa, also known as the heroine Eraserhead. She was sleeping peacefully, covered by the sheets, looking somewhat tender, though those who knew her would say she wasn't very tender. But why are we talking about her? Because she is also the protagonist of this story, even though she doesn't know it. She continued to sleep in her bed until her cat woke her up. Og, the raven-haired woman grumbled as she was awakened from her sleep. Meow, the cat mewed. Bigotes, thank you for waking me up, she said somewhat irritated. She wasn't a fan of being woken up, but she still had to fulfill her responsibilities as an adult. Ah, Shota yawned. Well, time to start the day. That's how her routine began, brushing her teeth, washing her face, taking a shower, cleaning the house, making breakfast, feeding the cat, the same thing every day. Definitely, every day is the same, she complained. I have to go shopping for the day. With that, she went to get ready for her activities. She was a pretty woman to some men, not all. She didn't stand out much among the others, with a moderately sized bust and attractive legs. Her hair was often disheveled, and she had black eyes with noticeable dark circles. Many didn't find her pretty, and her personality didn't help. She was seen as dull, serious, cold at times, and curt. But she didn't care what people thought of her. As she walked the streets of Japan in search of her favorite supermarket, she mused about it. What did it matter if people didn't find her attractive? She was a hero to save, not to be Miss Universe. Normal narrator. As Aizawa was approaching her destination, a certain green-haired young man was running at top speed through the streets. Ugh, those idiots ruined my day, the raven-haired woman grumbled. Meanwhile. Yes. I'm almost at the beach. Our favorite bush exclaimed with joy. With Aizawa. I hope my day doesn't get any worse, I don't want to beat someone up today, she thought, but she was interrupted when she bumped into someone. With Izuku. I'm almost at. He was interrupted as he collided with a woman. After the collision, both of them fell, dazed, being watched by the people walking on the street, quietly chuckling about the accident. Some people can be so mean. I once fell, and they laughed for 5 minutes. However, that wasn't Izuku's real problem. The real problem was with whom he collided. The first to recover from the crash was our dear Shota, who didn't seem too pleased, hee. What's wrong with you, idiot? Shota said, barely getting up from the impact. I'm sore. Izuku began to apologize but stopped when he finally looked up at the person he had collided with. In the eyes of the young broccoli, she was beautiful. Her black eyes shone with fury, her characteristic dark circles added a special touch to her already lovely face, her pale skin seemed smooth and delicate, and her figure, which Izuku found perfect to his taste. Our broccoli continued to be unresponsive to Shota's calls, he was lost in his own world. Wow, I feel terrible for bumping into her. She seems angry, but she's beautiful, he unintentionally blurted out. Eh? Was all she managed to say upon hearing his words. What did you say? She asked, with a slight blush. Upon realizing what he had said, Izuku blushed deeply, looking as red as a strawberry due to his freckles. Sorry, he stammered. Aizawa was very upset. First, some idiots had criticized her appearance, comparing her to other heroines as if she were an object, and now a kid had collided with her. "Of course you're sorry, brat," she said, grabbing Izuku by the sides and lifting him to her eye level. She was slightly taller. "Look, walking broccoli, I'm not in a good mood today, and you're not helping. If you don't want me to use you as a stress reliever, you better get out of my sight." "I'm sorry," Izuku said, feeling nervous for two reasons. First, he was intimidated by the woman, and second, she was very close to his face, allowing him to notice her features in more detail. "Then go away," Aizawa said. Izuku obediently followed her command and began to move away from the scene. "Ugh, I hope the day doesn't get worse," Aizawa muttered. "Huh?" she said in confusion as she checked her pocket and realized her wallet was missing. "Oh, darn, I can't find my wallet. Why, God?" she shouted in frustration. Meanwhile, in the sky, St. Peter spoke up, "Sir, don't you think you're going too far?" "Hee, it's crazy here. I made her lose her wallet," God replied as he watched the TV and enjoyed a chocolate frap. Back on Earth, as soon as Izuku heard her shout in anger, he felt guilty about what she was going through. Izuku's perspective. "I felt bad hearing her yell in anger because she had lost her wallet due to our collision. So, I gathered my courage and decided to go back to help her because that's what a man should do, right? When I reached where she was, I tapped her on the shoulder. She turned around and said, 'Oh, it's you again. Sorry, but I overheard that you lost your wallet because of me. I've come to help you find it,' I said nervously but determined to show that I was sincere. 'No, thanks. You've already helped enough,' she replied, clearly irritated, as she turned away to search for her wallet on her own. But I wasn't going to leave her to search alone. I grabbed her wrist to make her look at me and said, 'No, I want to help. It was my fault, and I'm sorry. I want to make it right.' 'Fine,' she responded, looking at me with a penetrating gaze. I was nervous but relieved by her response. 'What did your wallet look like?' I asked. 'It's a black wallet with a cat figure on it,' she answered with a slight blush. We searched for a few minutes in that area. Occasionally, I couldn't help but glance at her. I couldn't get her out of my head, but it was hard to avoid because she was beautiful. I felt like a pervert." Aizawa's perspective. "Okay, the kid is helping me, but that doesn't mean I'm not still annoyed. During the search for my wallet, I noticed that he would occasionally look at me. It was making me uncomfortable, and I was about to ask him why he kept staring when he bumped his head against the wall. This kid is strange. Although it made me let out a small laugh, it lightened the mood." Izuku's perspective. "I bumped my head against the wall as a self-punishment for looking at her for too long. I felt like a creep, and I thought she might kill me if she noticed. But she didn't. Instead, she let out a lovely laugh. After about 10 minutes, I found the wallet hidden among some blocks. I picked it up and turned to hand it to her. 'Miss, here's your wallet,' I said, offering it to her. 'I'm really sorry. I made you lose time.' 'It's okay, kid. Thanks for your help. But next time, try to be more careful, okay?' she said, giving me a stern look. 'All right,' I replied, feeling nervous under her gaze. 'I'll leave now to avoid bothering you. Goodbye,' I said as I ran away from there." Narrator. As Izuku ran away, Aizawa let out a tired sigh. "What a troublesome kid. Well, at least he helped me find my wallet," she mumbled as she continued her journey toward the grocery store. Meanwhile, Izuku. He ran as fast as he could because it was 9:45, and he still hadn't arrived to meet All Might. "I hope All Might is still there," he said anxiously. Time skip. We can see a green-haired boy arriving at a beachside dumpster, where he expected to find All Might. "All Might, sensei," he exclaimed to avoid revealing All Might's true identity. "Young Midoriya, I thought you weren't going to come," All Might said. "I'm sorry, a lot of things happened, but I'm here now, ready." Izuku began, but All Might interrupted. "Well, rest a bit, young Midoriya, as you arrived late, you'll have to train twice as hard today as punishment," All Might said, excited to see how the young broccoli would handle today's training. "What?" was all Izuku managed to say before he was thrown into the sand to continue his training. 1 week after the encounter. In a Japanese beach, we can see a green-haired kid and a skinny man, but what are they doing? "All Might, come on, Midoriya, don't slow down," he yelled, motivating his skinny student, also known as the symbol of peace. "How do you expect to be a hero if you can't carry 3 refrigerators?" All Might shouted again. Izuku, I could do better if someone hadn't kicked me this morning, complained Izuku. All Might, I told you I'm sorry, it wasn't my intention, hey. He chuckled nervously. But what exactly happened in the morning? Earlier that same day. All Might was having coffee while waiting for his pupil, feeling a bit tired since he had to wake up early to start training. But it was worth it because he was training the one who would become the symbol of peace, although he left much to be desired as a teacher. All Might, yawn, I'm running out of ideas to motivate Midoriya, maybe a phrase will do, and I won't have to think of anything else. He said sleepily. As he pondered on how to teach Izuku, a memory came to him. All Might, I've got it. Why don't I imitate that old man from the movie? I think his name was Miyagi, Toshinori thought. In the end, he found a way to teach his pupil. Ha, I can also use the wax on, wax off technique to have Midoriya clean my cars. Ha, I'm a genius, he shouted, making the few people passing by at that hour look at him. I'm sorry, I didn't mean to scare you, he said nervously when he saw the frightened expressions of the people. Minutes passed from that scene. Izuku was still a few meters away from All Might, running towards him. Izuku, All Might, good morn, he was interrupted by a kick that sent him crashing into some trash. All Might, oh no. Midoriya, Shonen, he yelled. Back to the present. All Might, I told you I'm sorry, hey. He said embarrassed. But look on the bright side, I managed to do the crane kick, ha. He said proudly of his achievement. Izuku, well, if you can do the crane kick, that's something to be happy about, isn't it? He said sarcastically. All Might, ha, leaving that aside, we need to continue your training. He said to ease the tension. Izuku, all right. He said disheartened. All Might, come on, Shonen, I promise you that when you pass the UA entrance exam, I'll give you a gift. What do you say? He said with a smile. Izuku, ha, well, I'll do my best. Motivated Izuku said. All Might, that's the spirit, now let's continue your training. Meanwhile, in another place. Shota, or Aizawa, as you prefer, Bigote 7, where are you? She shouted, searching for her cat. It's worth mentioning that she was inside her yellow sleeping bag. How can they escape from me so quickly? She said in frustration. Our dear Shota Aizawa has let 7 cats slip away, including Bigotes 2, Bigotes 3, 4, 5, 6, and now Bigote 7. She's not very good at naming them, but it has been a rough week for her. Not only have her cats disappeared, but her mirror broke, she lost one of her sleeping bags, and when she was shopping, her bags kept tearing. It hasn't been going well for her. Shota, I give up, they can find another owner. She said bored. The good thing is that I have to patrol today, and any bandits or villains I encounter will pay until their legs break. She said with a sinister smile. The only bad thing is that she'll be there too, it's annoying, she shouted. Well, I have to wait until it's time to go. A few hours later, darkness covered the city. The silence started to fill the streets, the perfect time for committing crimes, or so they thought, as this city was protected, watched over by the wonderful, astonishing, and responsible heroine Shota Aizawa, also known as Eraserhead. Shota, where's my supersuit? She exclaimed excitedly. Well, she's still wonderful and astonishing. Minutes later, on a rooftop, we can see Shota dressed in her heroine outfit, simple but useful. She was relaxing as there didn't seem to be anything important happening, no robberies, no attempts, not even the usual perverts who followed women to take pictures. Everything seemed calm. Or so she thought. Shota, so relaxing, no headaches tonight. She said calmly. Ha, but look who it is, my best friend, a female voice said as she ran towards Aizawa too. Hug her? Shota, let go of me. Emmy, she yelled in annoyance. Emmy, why don't you like my hugs? The now named Emmy pouted. Shota, no. Shota replied coldly, giving Emmy a death stare, which made Emmy stop hugging her. What's up, joke? What brings your pleasant presence here? Shota asked. Emmy, why can't I see my soulmate? Emmy said, putting her hand on her face in a sign of indignation. Well, I wanted to see how you were, I had some spare time. Shota, well, but I know you want to tell me something too, right? Shota asked. Is it that you broke up with your 8th partner? She asked, only to receive a nervous laugh from Emmy. Here we go again. Emmy, hey, you make it sound like it's common. She said while Aizawa raised an eyebrow. Okay, maybe it is somewhat common, but not too much. Anyway, leaving that aside, I also wanted to ask if you ever think about having a partner. She said. Shota, oh, how many times do I have to tell you? I'm not interested in that, and I'm a heroine, I don't have time for it. Shota replied tiredly. Emmy, but, I don't know, have you ever thought about it? Emmy asked, receiving an indifferent look from Shota. Oh, I know, maybe you're a lesbian, if you want, I can be your partner, honey. She said, blowing a kiss to Shota, only to receive a threatening look in return. Okay, I'll stop with the jokes. But think about it, you know, I don't want you to remain a spinster. She said. Making a vein pop on Aizawa's forehead, then she ran away to avoid getting killed. Shota, you have no idea how much I hate you, she yelled in anger. Emmy, I know you love me, babe, she shouted from a distance. In the place, only Shota remained, upset by Joke's words. Shota, spinster, as if she knew, she was snapped out of her thoughts when. Kya, a scream could be heard in the distance. Shota, oh no, a girl in distress, I have to go. She said while running towards the scene. Whose scream was it? Will Shota arrive in time? Will she stop being a cat lady? Shota, hey, you, she didn't hear us, huh? All of this and much more in the next chapter of Julio Profe Joestar Adventure. The night, undoubtedly one of people's greatest fears. You never know what you might encounter in these hours, murderers, rapists, robbers, or even worse, a villain. Though there are heroes safeguarding people's security, they can't always be everywhere. You must stay alert. The dangers are many, especially when alone. Rational people avoid dark places, preferring well-lit and busy areas. Only a reckless, thoughtless person would venture into the darkest spots. Izuku, it's good that the alleys shorten the way, he said happily, traversing a somewhat dark alley. Today's training left me tired. I hope my mom makes katsudon, he added, placing his hands behind his head. Certainly, there'll always be a careless fool around. As Izuku strolled through the dark, gloomy, damp alley with a lingering scent of trash, he hummed his favorite song and occasionally sang the chorus, a beautiful one, by the way. A feeling of unease crept in. Why do I feel like I'm being watched, like someone's observing me a lot? He whispered to himself. But what was really happening? Near where Izuku was, precisely behind some trash containers, 5 silhouettes were observed, seemingly watching his every move, action, or word. Criminal 1, so, do we jump him or not? The silhouette said, with a deep voice, unmistakably a man's. Criminal 2, I guess so. He doesn't look very strong, the second criminal replied, also a man. Criminal 3, yeah, and he seems tired. He won't put up much of a fight, a third male voice responded. Criminal 4, yeah, and besides, I could use him as my toy, a fourth voice, belonging to a woman, replied as she licked her lips. Criminal 5, hey, you've never slept with any of us. Why do you want to with him? A fifth male voice complained. Criminal 4, don't get me wrong, you guys aren't ugly, but you're not that great either, she said, simultaneously breaking the hearts of the other 4. Also, that boy over there is cute, tender, and adorable. I'd like to have him in my collection, put a leash on him, and let him know he's mine, she said, biting her upper lip. The other 4 criminals were scared, grateful that it wasn't them. In fact, they thought it was better not to sleep with her. Returning to Izuku, he was walking near the exit. The streetlights could be seen. Izuku, finally, I'll get out of here, he muttered, relieved because the discomfort was too much. I'm almost out of here, he was interrupted as he was pulled against a wall. Criminal 4, well, look what we have here, a cute boy alone at this hour of the night, she said seductively. Izuku was afraid, he knew this wasn't a good sign. Criminal 1, we'll have fun with him later. First things first, the man said. Izuku, what do you want from me? He asked, scared. Criminal 3, isn't it obvious, you idiot? He replied, annoyed. Criminal 2, we want everything you've got, you stupid piece of, the second man spoke as he hit Izuku. Izuku, ow, he groaned, spitting out blood. Criminal 5, looks like you're not very strong. You can't even take a punch, he mocked while hitting Izuku in the stomach. Izuku only let out cries of pain. Criminal 4, hey, don't hurt my lovely pet, she complained, grabbing Izuku's chin. Relax, baby. If you listen to us, we won't do anything to you. In fact, you'll have the fortune of being my former sex slave, she purred, making Izuku feel a shiver. What do you say? Izuku, please, no, he pleaded, facing the woman's lascivious gaze. Criminal 4, I don't mind taking you by force. You'll enjoy it a lot. We'll have a lot of sex, and, she leaned towards Izuku's ear, I'll try out a lot of dildos with you, she whispered, squeezing Midoriya's backside. At that moment, Izuku felt true terror. Izuku, kya-a? He screamed loudly, a powerful, manly cry. Criminal 4, oh yes, that's it. Scream for mommy. Later, you'll be screaming my name, she said in a perverse manner. Despite everything, the other 4 felt sorry for the boy. Izuku, no, never, he said as he broke free from the grip and got into a fighting stance. I may not have a quirk, but I can't let them do this to me, thought our protagonist. Criminal 1, you're getting into a fighting stance? Knowing there's more of us than you? Are you willing to fight us? He said as he approached. Izuku, I can't defend my virginity if I don't fight. He also moved closer, scared but determined to fight. Quickly, one of the assailants activated his quirk. It seemed to be hardening, as his arm turned black. Izuku barely managed to dodge it. When he looked back, he was met with a kick to the chest from another. Izuku was thrown into the air, landing near some trash containers. Izuku, ow, they're so strong, and the worst part is I don't have a quirk to defend myself. At this rate, they'll kill me, he thought, wiping a trickle of blood from his mouth. Criminal 4, it's a shame we have to do this by force, she said mockingly, but just to make it a little fair, we'll show you our quirks. She then pointed to the others. Criminal 2, mine is black steel. It allows me to turn my arms into steel. Criminal 3, mine is zoom. It lets me see up close. It's not useful in battles, but it helps me pick our prey, he said threateningly. Criminal 1, mine is clone. It gives me the ability to create clones, although they vanish with just one blow. Criminal 5, in my case, I don't have a quirk, but I'm an expert with knives, he said, drawing a knife. It seemed these criminals were foolish. That was Izuku's first thought. He might have a chance to defeat them. The most powerful were the woman and the steel one, their quirks were strong. He had to come up with a plan quickly. He quickly got up. The one with the knife was the first to approach. Izuku dodged the blade, then swiftly swept his leg, knocking the criminal down. Although he was hit by a metal box from the woman, he was momentarily stunned but managed to regain his footing. The knife-wielding assailant quickly recovered and lunged at Izuku. Thinking on his feet, Izuku decided to strike the criminal's neck with all his strength, aiming for a vulnerable spot to knock him out. The move succeeded as the criminal fell to the ground unconscious. Criminal 1, so you managed to take him down. He was useless, to be honest. No quirk, these words stung Izuku. The third criminal approached, landing a punch to Izuku's chest, sending him backward. He struggled to his feet, narrowly avoiding another punch from the second criminal. Now, he faced a major challenge. However, an idea crossed his mind. Izuku, I have to make this guy hit his friend when the opportunity arises, to free myself from one of them, he thought, feeling thankful for having watched so many hero battles. And there it was, the third criminal was approaching from behind, and the steel-armed criminal was coming at him from the front, preparing to punch. Without hesitation, Izuku quickly crouched, causing the third criminal to take a full blow from the steel-fisted punch in the face, rendering him unconscious. Izuku quickly jumped back, but he found himself trapped as various metal objects enclosed him. He turned to look at the woman with a sadistic smile. Criminal 4, Ara, you're quite smart in a fight, but it's all over, you're trapped, and nothing will stop you from becoming my pet, she said with a smile, while the other two laughed maliciously. Izuku was sweating, trembling, and scared. There was no way out, or so he thought. But then he heard another voice. Unknown voice, I don't think that's going to happen, a female voice said, capturing everyone's attention. Suddenly, the man with steel arms was bound by what looked like bandages and lifted into the air, causing the woman to scream as she fell, hitting the man and knocking him out. As the dust settled, a woman in a black suit with bandages around her neck, her hair floating, and goggles covering her eyes stood before them. She swiftly used her bandages to capture the first criminal, pulling him toward her and delivering a kick to his head, rendering him unconscious. The woman with the magnetism quirk began to back away with fear, while Izuku watched with a mix of relief and amazement. All the metal objects around him fell to the ground. He realized that her quirk was no longer active, which meant. Criminal 4, who the hell are you? She said, fear evident in her voice as she retreated. Unknown heroine, I am the heroine. Izuku/Shota, Eraserhead. They both exclaimed simultaneously, before Shota delivered a blow to the woman's head, rendering her unconscious. "Shota, kid, are you alright?" he asked, his words interrupted by Izuku's excitement. "Izuku, amazing. Hero Eraserhead in person. I'm your biggest fan," he exclaimed, waving his arms to show his excitement, leaving Shota slightly annoyed. "Shota, kid, calm down. Don't get too excited," he said as he moved a little away from Izuku. "It seems like you're okay. What about the girl?" he asked Izuku. "Izuku, which girl?" he responded, sounding unsure. "Shota, the one who screamed for help, where is she?" he asked, leaving Izuku sweating and nervous, realizing he had been the one who screamed. "Izuku, come on, think of something. If he finds out it was me, he'll make fun of me," he thought until an idea came to him. I rescued the girl. I heard her scream, came to her defense, and told her to escape," he stammered, hoping Shota would buy it. "Shota, okay, I believe you. After all, you defeated two of them," he replied, looking somewhat skeptical. Izuku was relieved. "Some other day, kid. The police are on their way. Goodbye, brat," Shota said as he used his bandages to ascend quickly and disappear from the scene. Izuku was left alone in the alley. He let out a sigh and said, "I just wanted to tell you that you're my favorite hero." After that accident, after that display of strength and heroism, how she quickly took down those criminals, and my possible violator/master? Doesn't matter. Still, I regret not being able to say she was my favorite hero. When I arrived at the apartment area where I lived, accompanied by police, they said it was for my safety, they left me there, and I continued to search for my apartment. My mother welcomed me and asked why I was so late. With no other option, I told her what had happened. Flashback. "Izuku, that's what happened, Mom." I finished telling her as calmly as possible. During our conversation, she fainted 3 times. "Inko, oh, my baby, I'm glad you're okay," she said as she hugged me tightly to the point where my bones made a cracking sound. "Oh, I didn't mean to hurt you, Izuku." She apologized while crying, and I couldn't help but let out a little laugh. I'm truly grateful she's my mother. "Inko, but I also want to congratulate you. You saved a girl from some robbers. You'll be a great hero." Do you think I was going to tell her that I was the one who screamed? No, I definitely wouldn't. "Oh, I hope she doesn't find out about when I burned the cereal by putting it in the refrigerator, or when I left the iron on a shirt, causing it to burn. Or when I accidentally switched the labels for salt and sugar in the kitchen at school." "Inko, your father is coming to live with us. My mother told me. It's been a while since I've seen him. He went to work in the United States. The last time I saw him, I was 4 years old, and I still remember his words before he left." Memory within a flashback, which is within another flashback. "Hisashi, Izuku, never forget this," he said while placing his hand on my hair. "Always clear your browsing history." Oops, wrong memory. After 75 memory changes. "Hisashi, Izuku, never forget. Yes, this must be it. You will be the greatest hero, my little giant," he told me while hugging me. That moment changed my life. I knew I had his and Mom's support, even though I didn't have a quirk. He always told me I would be the greatest hero in the world, and no one could stop me because, to him, both my mother and I were his great pride. End of the flashback within a flashback. I was really happy. I would see him again after a long time, but there was still a question: why? What had happened? "Izuku, hey, Mom, why is he coming? Or rather, how did he get the chance to come back?" I asked, and she replied. "Inko, I plan to tell you later, but since you're so inquisitive," she said while tapping my head with a ladle. "He changed jobs. Now he's part of a very important company here in Japan. He got a good position as the head of legal affairs, will receive a good salary, and it's likely we'll move to a more spacious house and leave the apartment," she told me with a big smile. "Izuku, that's excellent news, but when is he coming?" I asked. "Inko, he'll come a week after you take your entrance exam for UA," she said. "You have no idea how excited I am," she commented with her Colgate smile. "A week after my exam, it seems like my life is improving a lot." Present day. Today is the day. I'm standing in front of the enormous UA, where the greatest heroes graduated. I'd be lying if I said I wasn't scared. I'm sweating, nerves are eating me alive, but I can't turn back. I received one for all a few moments ago, though not in the way I thought. Flashback. All Might, someone once told me, Something you receive because you're lucky and something you receive because you've earned it are very different. He told me while putting his hand on his head. I was happy, tears were running down my face. Remember, you have this power because you deserve it. He said as he pulled out a strand of hair. At this point, I was crying out of happiness. There was no more epic moment than this. Nothing and no one could ruin it. All Might, eat it. Well, I spoke too soon. Izuku, huh? That's all I could say. All Might, to inherit one for all, you have to receive my DNA. He told me as he presented a strand of his hair. I had no other option, so I decided to eat it. The taste was very special. It tasted like justice. End of the flashback. With one for all, the support of my parents, and All Might, no one can stop me from pursuing my dream of becoming the symbol of peace. I do it for them, for the people who need a hero. I will be that hero, a hero who will save everyone with a smile, because I am. Izuku Midoriya, the next symbol of peace. Shota, my life is a mess, she exclaimed angrily for everyone to hear. Well, not that much. Shota narrates. Darn it. These past 2 months have been terrible. First, I lost my things, my keys, then my money, and even my Versace sleeping bags. After that, my coffee jars, and lastly, my fridge. How on earth did I lose my fridge in my own house? In case you're wondering, no, it wasn't stolen, the cameras didn't catch anything. My cats, the ones I rescued, keep running away. Just yesterday, my cat Bigote 17 disappeared. In my desperation, as a last resort, I asked someone about this, but since I don't know anyone, my last resort was. Flashback. Emmy, Ms. Joke, ha, I knew one day you'd come running to me. She said while laughing at my misfortune. This proves I'm the love of your life, darling. I was furious, and a vein popped on my forehead. I gave her a stern look to make her take it seriously. Okay, I'll calm down. First, let's check what the horoscope has to say to figure out what's happening to you. She said, pulling out a magazine. Honestly, by this point, I was regretting it. I know what you're thinking, why her? Well, she's the only person I spend more time with. Maybe I'd ask Nemuri for help, but I don't know where she lives or patrols, and as for Mike. Definitely not. The only people I'd talk to about this are my parents, although they haven't been alive for a long time. Emmy, alright. She said while continuing to pout, but seconds later, she stopped. Okay, first, let's see what you've been up to in these 2 months. Maybe all this is happening because you've clashed with a villain with a bad luck quirk. She said, rubbing her chin. Shota, well, I've been fighting some real trash lately. None of them had a quirk related to luck. I mentioned while leaning against the rooftop wall where we were. Honestly, I've never believed in luck. Emmy, this makes it even more complicated. She said as she lay down on the ground. Maybe if you remembered what happened to you 2 months ago, as you told me this all started 2 months ago, right? She asked. I honestly never thought about it. Shota, now that I think about it, the only thing I did 2 months ago was work, train, and go shopping. I said as I sat on the ground. Yeah, that's all I've been doing. Honestly, I don't do much in my daily life. Emmy, can't you remember anything that happened while doing those things? She asked. Shota, I can't remember anything. I brought my hand to my head, trying to recall something, and, luckily, I did remember. Well, one Monday, I bumped into a kid. I mentioned. Emmy, really? What happened next? She asked while looking at her nails. Shota, well, because of that kid, I almost lost my wallet. I said, annoyed at the kid's recklessness. I looked at Emmy, and she quickly got up with excitement. Emmy, I know. Maybe that kid is to blame for this. She commented with a smile. I honestly don't believe a simple kid is to blame, although I have my suspicions. Haven't you run into him again? She asked. Shota, yes. I literally saved his behind from some muggers and an attacker. I replied. Maybe it's true that he's to blame because after that, my luck got worse. Emmy, without a doubt, that kid is to blame, ha ha ha. She shouted excitedly. It's best not to see him again, or better yet, kill him, ha ha ha. She laughed in a disturbing way. Shota, I'm not going to kill a kid. I replied angrily. Who does she think I am, a murderer? Emmy, well, I was just saying. It's best not to get close to him again. Although I found it hard to believe, it was the most sensible option. I hope I've been of help, and since I've helped you. I already knew what she had planned, nothing is free. I want you to accompany me to dinner, but you'll have to bring a date, and dress nicely because it's at a restaurant. Okay, I thought she would ask for something else. And you can't say no. Shota, okay, I'll go to the darn dinner. I sighed wearily, raised my face to look at her, but she grabbed me by the waist and face and kissed me. I was wide-eyed with surprise, quickly pushed her away. Emmy, that's the VAT for the service, goodbye, baby. She shouted as she left, laughing. Shota, am I 5? I yelled, annoyed. Current time. I'm currently in the observation room. The admission physical exam for new students is underway, but luckily, that damn kid is there. The good thing is, he doesn't have any points at this rate. Nezu, okay, they're doing well, but now it's time for the real exam. Director Nezu said as he pressed a red button. The other teachers in the room already knew what was going to happen. Mike opened the microphone and informed the participants that there was 1 minute left. During this exam, we've seen many kids with potential, one who hardens, another who explodes things in his path, and more. Each of us was keeping an eye on different promising participants, but All Might, a newly joined teacher, couldn't take his eyes off one in particular. When I looked where he was looking, I realized he was watching the kid who has been causing me so much bad luck. But why? He didn't have a single point. Suddenly, the ground shook, and the 0-point villain appeared. Many participants, upon seeing it, didn't hesitate to run. From the observation room, I could sense their fear, but out of nowhere, a cry for help was heard. It was a girl with brown hair who was about to be crushed by the 0-point villain. The director, Nezu, had an off button and was going to press it if it weren't for the green-haired kid who, in a single leap, reached the head of the 0-point villain and knocked down the giant robot with one punch. Everyone in the room was impressed. How could someone so young be so strong? When I took a closer look, I realized it was the same green-haired kid who had been causing me trouble. He was falling rapidly to the ground. It seemed like he had broken his legs and arm. As he was about to impact the ground, the girl with brown hair hit him, making him levitate so he wouldn't fall, and then he vomited. The exam was over, everyone had left, leaving only the teachers. Based on the results obtained, I'll have to see that green-haired kid every day. Why does misfortune keep following me?